Hey guys, TGKS Productions. So in this video I'm going to be doing a buying, customization, and review of the two most recent vehicles added to GTA Online. That's the Progen PR4 as well as the Ocelot R88. I'm also going to be comparing these two vehicles at the end of the video to see if one's more superior than the other one. But in any case here, we're going to start by buying, customizing, and so just going over a short review of the Progen PR4 first. It's the first one that comes up on the Legendary Motorsports website where you can buy both of these vehicles. So either there's a Progen PR4 there. Most expensive out of the two vehicles retails for $3,515,000. See the screenshots there, vehicle stats. In any case, caption reads, "Okay, before you click off, we know what you're thinking. The power, the handling, the aerodynamics, they're all very well, but what can you possibly do with as formidable an open-wheel car race as the Progen PR4 on the city streets? You're the one reckless enough to find out. You tell us." It's a pretty cool caption there. In any case, we're going to get into a little bit of driving it before customizing it, then obviously customizing it, get a little bit of performance after the customization, and then again, we'll get into the Ocelot R88 and then compare them both at the end. So the Progen PR4 appears to be based off of the Formula 1 car McLaren MP45. Again, both of these vehicles are based off of Formula 1 cars. So we're going to get a look at the stock version of the Progen MP4, or I'm sorry, I just literally mixed the two names together. The Progen PR4 right here. So this is stock. Look at it right here. I always like to look at it before the customization. I want to see if there's any vehicle remote options you could do. I didn't really expect there to be any sort of options to perform with this vehicle other than just turning the engine on and off. There's really no doors or engine to open up. There we're getting in. I like the way that your players just jumps into the vehicle like that. It's pretty cool. But just want to again drive it around a bit, just get a feel for the vehicle before customizing it. One thing I will say, the acceleration seems pretty quick with these cars, even with the when we get into the Ocelot R88. So acceleration seems pretty quick. Even speed, for the most part, I think I was looking at it a little bit. I think I get a little bit of a first-person view. I think I was getting a little over 100 miles per hour, which we do have vehicles that go faster than that. But this thing also has a boost, which I'll sort of show off later, which can end up having this car go over like 160 miles per hour, which is pretty cool. So it definitely makes these vehicles very quick. I believe these even are probably the most expensive vehicles, at least on Legendary Motorsports. These vehicles are in their own class, or in the open wheel class. So they're the only two vehicles, and they're in that respected class. So that's pretty cool. Again, these are the only vehicles that can be used in the open wheel races. But again, acceleration seemed pretty quick, and speed seemed. I couldn't really get an in-depth speed review. I'll talk a little bit more about the speed a little bit later in the video when I go over the Ocelot R88. But yeah, definitely one thing, acceleration seems really quick. I'd say that's the biggest thing. But anyways, let's customize this vehicle real quick, or look at the customization, and again, then get into a little bit of a performance review after that. So here's the customization of the Progen PR4 here. Definitely, I would say, on average, less customization than the majority of vehicles we have in GTA Online. Don't get me wrong, there are vehicles in GTA Online that definitely have less customization than this vehicle, and even the other Formula 1 vehicle, or the Ocelot R88. But you have to remember that these vehicles are so different than anything we have in GTA Online that obviously there's only certain customization. The customization that it has is very different from all the other vehicles, so you are getting that. So that is also really cool, even though there's definitely maybe not as much customization as other vehicles. But there is a number of options this vehicle has that obviously other vehicles won't have, such as there's even super brakes and super transmission upgrades, which obviously no other vehicles have, and really just about anything else, even the spoiler, the front bumper, any engine covers or things like that can be different from any other vehicle in Online. This vehicle also has a number, I believe this one specifically, the Progen PR4, has 10 unique liveries, so that's also cool. This vehicle does have more customization than the Ocelot R88, so you are getting a little bit more customization. I believe this vehicle can have something like a windscreen upgrade, or sort of like a windshield upgrade on this vehicle, as well as I believe this vehicle also has a few more liveries than the Ocelot R88, so you are getting a little bit more with this vehicle as far as customization options. Not a lot, but a little bit more. But yeah, in any case, that's pretty much mostly what I want to cover. There's also new wheel options, sort of this race wheel options for this vehicle as well. That again can only be applied to these vehicles in GT Online. So that is also really cool. And also the as far as like there's a primary and secondary color for this vehicle for the Progen PR4, and I believe you'll end up seeing, I sort of showed off a little bit later, but the primary color is the majority of the vehicle, except for really the part of the spoiler and the front bumper. That's really about it. The secondary color pretty much covers the front bumper and spoiler. Primary color pretty much covers the rest of the car. But that's pretty much mostly what I wanted to highlight with the customization of the Progen PR4. But if you feel free to check out the rest of it if you would like to. But after this, we're going to get into the Ocelot R88.
How many cars you got in this garage again? Think long and hard. Do you need a drink? Bubbles or something? No rush at all. Life is hard when you can have anything. If you can think it, I can do it. Now you'll get the best out of her. Good luck blowing those. Making decisions is stressful. Girl is looking good. Don't she look pretty?
So I decided to look at the performance of the Progen PR4 after driving around and customizing the Ocelot R88. I'm pretty sure it's Ocelot R88. I keep wanting to say R88, but I'm pretty sure it's the R88. But again, both these vehicles can be bought from Legendary Motorsports. The Ocelot R88 is the inexpensive one out of these two vehicles that released this week, so these two Formula One cars. But right here, as you can see, the Ocelot R88 retails for $3,115,000, so $400,000 less than the Progen PR4. You can see the screenshots here, the stats, and the caption reads, "We could just keep saying Ultra and Turbo over and over, but even these hardcore buzzwords can't do the Ocelot R88 justice. Instead, simply look at it, look again. Did you look? Then what are you waiting for?" So there's the caption. Like I said, we're going to quickly drive this around real quick, customize it, then look at the performance of these two vehicles, and then compare them both towards the end of the video. So here's a stock look at the Ocelot R88. I realize I said the inexpensive vehicle of the two. Both these vehicles are extremely expensive, but it is definitely the cheaper one out of the two that were released. But in any case, stock look here. And I also wanted to check again the vehicle remote options just to be consistent. Obviously, again, I didn't expect there to be any vehicle remote functions other than just turning the vehicle on and off. Also, I didn't mention earlier, you can't use any weapons. You can't throw sticky bombs, you can't shoot any weapons out of this car. So you pretty much are defenseless in this vehicle. But again, this isn't really a defensive vehicle. This vehicle is mainly, these vehicles are both mainly for the open wheel races. Get a look at the interior of the vehicle there real quick. The interior is slightly different than the Progen PR4. So the interiors are a little bit different as far as like sort of the dash. It has all the dials and everything, speedometer, things like that. But feels very similar. Again, acceleration has the KERS boost, even top speed. So very similar to the other, or to the Progen PR4. Again, I just like to be consistent with everything, and just perform the same, I guess, performances or functions with all the vehicles that I do these reviews with. But again, acceleration, speed feels very similar to the Progen PR4. In any case, taking it to my custom mod shop here real quick in my CEO office. And again, we're just going to go through the customization and then get into a little bit of performance with these vehicles and then compare them at the end. So here's the customization of the Ocelot R88 right here. Very similar to the Progen PR4 as far as the options, just because these vehicles are so similar. Again, they're the only two vehicles in their respected class. Really, like I said, I'm just going to highlight the customization or some options, or just talk about it real briefly here real quick, and then if, like I said, feel free to check the rest of it out if you want to. But really the only differences between as far as customization is concerned between the Ocelot R88 and the Progen PR4 is, again, the customizations options such as like the front bumper, the spoiler, things like that. The wheel options they're all very either the same or very similar to the Progen PR4. Really the only difference is this does have slightly less customization options than the Progen PR4, as I stated when I was customizing that vehicle. Really, the main differences are the Progen PR4 has sort of like a windshield or windscreen option, and then you can also have the option to tint that if you want to. The Progen R88, or not the Progen R88, the Ocelot R88 does not have that option. And then I believe this vehicle also has 2 less liveries than the Progen PR4. I believe this has 8 unique liveries. I believe the Progen PR4 had 10 unique liveries. So slightly less customization options, but for the most part, the customization that you can apply to this vehicle are similar to the Progen PR4 overall. Like I said, for the most part, if you want to check out the rest of this customization, you can. Right after this, we're going to go to the performance of these two vehicles and then compare them.
Think long and hard. many cars you got in this garage again? If you can think it, I can do it. Whatever you desire. Technology and budget permitting. Life is hard when you can have anything. You'll move through those gears like so. You're not gonna get a flat. Making decisions is stressful. No rush at all.
So onto the performance, we're back with the Progen PR4 here, just giving you a look at my final product. I believe I went with either I can't remember which vehicle, I went with very similar options with both vehicles. One of them had a classic primary and secondary orange, other one had a metallic orange, primary, secondary orange. I can't remember which one was which, but either a classic or metallic primary, secondary orange, as well as the Estancia tobacco livery. But what we're going to do here is we're going to just take it for a spin here real quick, try to get an idea of sort of the top speed or the speed on this vehicle, and then compare it with the Ocelot R88. Definitely a little bit more difficult to test these just because you can't take these vehicles into any other races in GT Online or even your own custom created races. You can only use these cars in the open wheel races, so a little bit hard to test these because a lot of times I'll take it in my own created race and sometimes test the speeds out. But I think what I'm going to show you here does give you an idea on the speeds of these vehicles and when comparing them. So I'm going to go in first person here. You end up seeing, without using like curves boost or anything, this vehicle seems to hover around 115 miles per hour, close to that, right around there. And then as soon as I use the curves boost, it'll end up actually jumping to a little over 160 miles per hour. You see like 161, 165 or somewhere around then. And then after you use the curves boost, it'll sort of hover between 115 and 120 miles an hour, as you can see on sort of the speedometer there. And wreck there, obviously slow myself down, but that should give you an idea of sort of the speed that this vehicle has. And here is going to be the performance of the Ocelot R88. What I failed to mention earlier is sort of what this vehicle is based off of. I believe this is mostly based off the Lotus 97T and maybe a little bit of the Alfa Romeo 179. I'll put pictures up on the screen of those two vehicles. In any case, here's my final product of the Ocelot R88. Once again, as I said earlier, either a metallic or classic primary and secondary orange, as well as the Estancia tobacco livery. So very similar to my Progen PR4. And again, we're going to just take it for a spin here on the highway. And if we get a look at the speed here, you can actually see the speed digitally at the bottom, sort of that speedometer there. But you'll end up seeing very similarly with the Progen PR4, it's going to hover around 150 miles per hour. Again, we're on the same highway, same road as we were with the Progen PR4. And you'll see as soon as I hit the boost, it'll hit around 161, 165. And then as it, sort of as it drops back down again after using the curves boost, it'll hover between 115 and 120 miles per hour. So the speeds of these two vehicles are extremely similar as far as what I can see. Again, I'm not saying this is necessarily the best test, but based off of using these vehicles on the same exact road, again, same highway, pretty much performing the same functions using the curves boost, and just from what we're getting from this, the speeds seem extremely similar, if not almost the same, with both the Ocelot R88 and the Progen PR4. And one more thing I want to show you real quick with these vehicles. I was actually in free mode here. I wiped out. You'll see that parts of the car actually fly off. So it's like the engine cover. You'll see here my engine cover flew off. My front bumper. Spoiler can fall off. This also happens in the races, but I just sort of wanted to show you that real quick. I think this is also a really cool feature for these vehicles. So now to the part of the video that the majority of people are probably waiting for, maybe even skip to this part of the video, but that is comparing these two vehicles and seeing which one is better. Now in order to do that, you must realize there's three main differences with these two vehicles. Other than just sort of the physical appearance, obviously they don't look exactly the same. They're similar, but they don't look exactly the same. There are three main differences. And the first one is if we actually, it's a statistical difference. If we actually look at the stats when on the website for these two vehicles, if you look at the stats for both these cars, if you look at the Progen PR4, the Progen PR4's traction is actually completely maxed out, whereas the Ocelot R88's traction is almost maxed out, but is a little bit short of being completely maxed out. Again, a slight difference, but there is a little bit of a statistical difference between these two vehicles. Again, the PR4 having the maxed out traction, the R88 not quite having the maxed out traction. Obviously, the probably one of the most noticeable differences is the price. There is a $400,000 difference between these two vehicles. And then the third difference being that the Progen PR4 has a little bit more customization options, such as a couple more liveries and having sort of like a windshield or windscreen option, obviously the ability to be able to tint that as well. So those are the three main differences between these two vehicles. Now, despite these differences, I really don't believe that the three differences that we discussed really affect the competitiveness of these two vehicles. Even when we looked at the speed of both the Progen PR4 and the Ocelot R88, they both performed similar speeds, if not almost about exactly the same from what we showed in this video. And even from my personal experience, I've won a fair amount of times with both of these vehicles. I'll even show an example here. This one guy actually beat me by 1.2, 1.3 seconds of this one race. There was like 12, 13 people in the race. And he was one of three people using the Ocelot R88, and he actually beat me. And majority of people using Progen PR4s. So again, like I said, I've won the majority a lot of times with both vehicles. You see even here, despite the traction being better on the Progen PR4, maybe you would consider that vehicle might win the majority of the time. You see here, this guy also won against a number of Progen PR4s. So ultimately, I think it really just comes down to preference overall. You also have to understand that these are the only two vehicles in the open wheel class. You can't have one vehicle being way more superior than the other one, otherwise there'd be no reason to even consider buying the other one. So I really think it just comes down to personal preference. Maybe also if you're trying to save a little bit of money, you might go with the Ocelot R88. Maybe if you want the couple more customization options or liveries with the Progen PR4, you'll go with that. Or maybe you like the physical appearance of that vehicle more. All in all, though, I really do believe that it just mainly comes down to what do you want more, what do you prefer more. But however, I believe either of these vehicles you take in an open wheel race, I feel like you have you'll have success overall picking either one of these. In any case, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you found it very beneficial. I apologize for the length, just because I was sort of combining both these vehicles into one video. Usually I separate them. And also sort of comparing them, just because obviously these open wheel races revolve around these two vehicles only, so I figured it was important to cover sort of comparing both of these vehicles. And I'm also going to be working on a video sort of how the open wheel races work, as well as sort of some tips on how to win those races. I'm working on a video for that, so I'll try to have that up as soon as I can. But as I said, hope you enjoyed this video, hope you found it beneficial, and as always, have a great day.